So you need to find an empirical research article for your assignment. What does that mean? Well, empirical research articles are scholarly, peer-reviewed journal articles that are based on evidence obtained through observation or scientific data collection. How can you tell if an article is empirical? There are three characteristics of empirical articles. First, the publication, then the perspective, and the structure of the article. Let's start with the publication. Empirical articles are published in scholarly, peer-reviewed journals, like the Journal of Learning Disabilities. If you watch the other two short videos that are on your course guide, they will help you know the difference between scholarly and popular publications, and they'll also define the peer review process and show you how that works. So they'll help with determining the publication characteristic. In addition, as we move through this video, I'll show you a few ways that you can zero in and find publications from scholarly journals. Then there's the perspective, and this is the author's perspective. Is it original research by the author based on observation and data collection? Is it scholarly, written for educators or researchers in the field of education, not the general public? And is it original? Have they actually done a study themselves? It's not just a synthesis or analysis of earlier research. The third characteristic is the actual structure of the article. Does it follow the IMRAD process? At the beginning of the article, you'll see some basic information, the title, the authors, and yes, scholarly journal articles have authors, and probably some keywords and a well-developed abstract that you can learn a lot about the journal, just about the article, just from reading the abstract. But then as you get down into the body of the article, it will follow a consistent structure. There'll be an introduction that answers the why question. What's the research question? How does this fit in with other research? What earlier research has been done? The introduction will typically include many in-text citations in a literature review that looks at previous research. That introduction is followed by a methods section that answers the how question. How did the author actually answer the research question? What was their population studied? What methods did they use? What tools did they use to study the population and analyze the question? Then the results section. What was the answer to the question? What did they learn? Quite often the results include some textual information, but it's often also full of graphs and charts and statistical analysis from the methods that the author used. Then there's a discussion section that includes a conclusion and looks at the significance of the project. What did they learn? How does this fit into a context? How might it be used? And what else needs to be studied? Following the discussion or conclusion, the authors will provide their references that they used in the literature review, and this consistent structure can help you to identify an empirical article. Okay, we kind of know what are the characteristics of empirical, but what isn't empirical? Well, we talked about the fact the publication needs to be scholarly, so we don't want to use short newspaper articles or articles from magazines. But in scholarly journals, the peer-reviewed characteristic is for the journal, but every article within a scholarly journal is not always empirical. So you need to actually look at the article and look for specific characteristics like the structure and the perspective. In general, in scholarly journals, there will sometimes be articles such as an editorial opinion or an answer to an earlier article or something based on reflection or personal experience. Those are not empirical. There will also be reviews of previous research, which can be very useful, but they aren't empirical. They're just a synthesis of other people's research. Sometimes those meta-analysis or synthesis of research will even come up with a new theory, but if there's not a specific original study, then it's not original. And scholarly journals often include book reviews, and those are not empirical research articles. So let's try to search for an empirical article. There are two places in the field of education that you could start. Like with all research in the library at UWSP, Search at UW is a good place to start, whether you're looking for articles or books on your topic. And that will work for this as well. You could also search in EBSCO. And I've listed 3 EBSCO databases, and there are some on your course guide that you could use, that you could search across to find empirical research in the field of special education. Well, let's go out to the library's website and try a search. So the library's homepage comes up, and I'm going to use this big toolbar and put in some topics. I'm looking for keywords, reading and autism. You could also put in a specific tool. You could put in an age group. You could look for a certain intervention, but I'm going to be very broad and just do this search, and so that we can look at a variety of types of results. Now, I said that we're in Search at UW, which is our catalog. So it includes everything, the books, the reports, all kinds of things that the library subscribes to or has physically in the library. So we want to narrow this down to find just empirical articles. Over on the left-hand side, I get some limiters. I first want to limit to peer review. So this might say, in another database, this might say scholarly. In this case, it's peer-reviewed. I'm going to say only give me peer-reviewed. Now, I also only want articles. I don't want conference proceedings or reviews. I want articles. So I'm going to narrow it down to only articles. And then your professor had said that they want you to use recent research. So I'm not going to go all the way back to 1953. Your assignment says to use only the last 8 years, and so I'm going to refine down to the last 8 years. So now I have a list that I can scroll down and maybe look at a few possibilities. As I scroll down, I see that there are a variety of ways that I can get to these articles. Sometimes I can click on the title. I can click on online access. I notice the peer-reviewed notation, so that's good. There also are sometimes articles where I can go straight to the PDF of the full text. This one sounds interesting, from word reading to multi-sentence comprehension. So I'm going to click on this PDF, bring up the article. Because I'm off campus, I need to log in at this point. And now I have an article that I can try to see if it fits. I know that it fits the first, it's in a scholarly journal because I limit it. Now I've got an abstract, children with ASD show a unique reading profile, characterized by decoding abilities equivalent to verbal abilities, but with lower comprehension skills. So they've defined a problem, they're looking at what they're looking at. They provide their methods, 25 children, there's my population. They participated in a reading intervention program, so there's my method. There's a results and a conclusion. Now that's just the abstract. So if I scroll down a little bit, they give me some keywords. Now I see that well-developed introduction with many in-text citations and a literature review. I see a methods section that looks at the participants in the study, provides the tools that they use for the intervention. Then I see, I'm looking next for a results section. There we go, there's our results section where they analyze those results. And then a discussion section. So it's got that MRAD structure. I can see that it's original research. They've provided results. This is definitely an empirical study. I could have used the outline along the sides to also help me to find that. I can now download the PDF for this article or print it out and use it for my article analysis. So that's how you find an empirical study. You go through the limiters in the article databases to zero in on the type of article that you need, and then actually analyze the article. Look at the sections, make sure that it's the right type, and then you should be able to do your article analysis. That's all it takes.